everybody, and welcome back to The Hobby Musician. Now when you clicked on this video, you might have thought to yourself, all right, Jeremy, you're getting a little heavy with the clickbait thumbnails here. But I would argue I actually am dead serious with kind of the message of this video. I categorically do not recommend that anybody out there do what I'm about to video myself doing. There's two main reasons for that. Number one, I'm about to take a product that a company manufactures. They have a specific design and a specific function in mind for their gear. But I'm about to willingly and knowingly go in there and start messing it up, which will absolutely void any kind of warranty or tech service support that this product offers. And number two, I don't actually know if it's going to work. I think it might work. And while I'm doing this, there is a very real chance that I could irreversibly damage. Maybe I try it, it doesn't work, and maybe I'm not able to go back and just put it together the way it was to start with. So for those two reasons and many other reasons, I do not recommend anyone out there try what I'm about to do. Now you're then asking, why film it and why show it anyway? Well, here's why. One of the fundamental principles of our entire channel is that we're hobby musicians. I am, maybe some of you out there are. We're passionate about this, but it isn't our main job. It's not our main source of income. So we do oftentimes work under constraints of money, constraints of time. So sometimes you run into challenges or problems that you can't always buy yourself out of. And that's where I find myself today. So I just want to show one example of creative problem solving that may, you could adapt to whatever you've got, what you're facing right now. All right, so let me set up the situation that we're in. Way back when the band formed that I'm currently in, we did an initial equipment purchase and we bought ourselves, the centerpiece of our gear is the UI24r digital mixing console from Soundcraft. Now they're not sponsoring us or anything, it's just a good piece of gear. And we picked that for a lot of reasons. Not only does it have all of the inputs and outputs that we need for our microphones, stereo signals from guitars, keyboards, it also has 8 options for dedicated auxiliary mixes. The second part of what we decided as a band is we wanted to go entirely in ears, which means we need those auxiliaries. You can go in digitally on an iPad or your phone, and each band member can independently mix their own sound out of one of those auxes. Then you can send it to your own individual in-ear mix. We also decided early on that we wanted to try to go wireless, but that ran into problems immediately. We would send out of an XLR cable that mix. My mix would come out of mine and it would go into a transmitter. The transmitter would then beam it through space to the belt pack that I was wearing, and I could hear what I mixed. But as soon as we got to venues, these venues have free Wi-Fi for the customers, the audience members themselves. Everybody's got a phone posting things, and we ran into interference big time all the time. We would start playing our sets and we'd get 1 or 2 songs in, and all of a sudden every single one of us would have scratchy, interfered signals, and we couldn't hear what we were doing. So we decided, what if we switched the wireless part to a hardwired solution? Now there's a lot of companies out there that make these little belt packs, and you can see they are designed to accept a hard wire. This is the Behringer PM1, and you can see it has an XLR input right here, and then out of the Soundcraft, they're XLR. So we thought, get ourselves a big long microphone cable, plug it in at the mixer, plug it in here, and there's just a volume knob. Turn it up, turn it down. All of the mixing can be done on the mixer side. We thought this would work. Now, there's a design problem with this. This is a passive device, and one of the benefits of that is I don't ever have to worry about batteries. Passive just means no batteries, no active power. But the company designed this to specifically receive a stereo signal. Out of the 3 pins of the XLR, so these microphone cables have 3 pins, 1, 2, and 3. Pin number 1 is always a ground pin, so you're never going to get audio signal sent on pin number 1. But pins 2 and 3 have the option of sending audio signal. Some gear will send audio signal through pins 2 and 3. Other gear will send audio signals through pin 2, but not pin 3. And yes, if you're watching this video, it turns out this device is wired so that pin 2 goes to one ear and pin 3 goes to the other. All digital mixers, all analog mixers, all mixing gear, just period, sends auxiliary signals only through pin 2. So when we got these units, plugged them in, we all started rocking out, we could only hear sound in one ear. So after a lot of homework, I have decided to alter this and try to get it so that it can receive signal only in pin 2 and send that signal, branch and split that signal so that it goes to both of my ears. So as I said, I'm fundamentally going to try to alter the design and manufacture of this piece of gear to try to suit the needs that I have. I need it to hear in both ears. And yeah, before you go down in the comments, they do make products. There are a lot of products out there that can do that, but by and large, many of them require power, batteries, that kind of stuff. And one of the things we're trying to do is keep our setup simple. Not to mention the fact I already bought this. So I want to see if I can make this work and avoid those batteries. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the camera switched up so you can get a downward view, and we're going to pop into this together, and I'm going to try to see if I can get that going. All right, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, everybody, we're all set up back here, and you can see I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to need. So I've got my soldering iron. I've got some extra wire. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to run a second line because I don't know exactly what to expect when we pop this open. But as I go ahead, there's only a couple screws holding on the top, a couple screws on the bottom. So I'm going to start to undo these. I do know, I have a reasonable guess. These devices are going to be really simple. As I was saying, it's just needing to wire, it has to wire the signal from the receptacle into a side of the headphones. Now the volume is just going to, modulate that signal. But my guess is, I think all I'm going to need to do is I need to either disconnect or find a way to branch or something the wire from pin 3 and then attach it or branch it into the connector on pin 2. And this, any kind of XLR, I've seen these before, they're just little short plastic pieces, and out the back side there's a little metal stub that all the wires are soldered to. So I'm hoping, I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping that it might be just an easy thing of disconnect wire 3 and then reconnect it or add it to pin 4. One nice thing about this is I'm almost there. I've got this is the last screw coming out here. One nice thing is that they do have these labeled, so it may be hard to see on there, but when they manufactured this, they actually imprinted where pin 1, pin 2, and pin 3 are. So now I've got the things out, and you can see I can start to open this up. Yep. Okay, so it's just like we talked about, and if I pull, yeah, there's a little bit of extra wire in there, so I can kind of move it, and you can see here this is exactly what we talked about. It's a short little plastic piece that out the back side, 3 wires are soldered into the connectors for the 3 pins. And this means, like we said, they're sending a signal from one of the pins, and I'm not even going to bother messing around with up here because all of this stuff is already connected to the ear side. This is where your earbuds plug in. But because we're only hearing signal out of one, I know that it's getting signal from pin 2. That's the pin that our mixer is sending. So pin 2 is the one over here, kind of on my right, your left. It's this outside one. Pin 3 is wired up, but pin 3 is never going to receive signal. So what I want to do, I've got my soldering iron over here. It's heating up. I should have heated it up when I started. But what I'm going to do is what I'm going to try first is I want to see if I can unsolder. So I'm going to heat up the solder that's connecting pin 3, and then when that melts, I'm going to pull off that wire, and then I'm going to reattach that wire or try to solder that wire on top of or in addition to the wire that's soldered on pin 2. Doing that should electrically now send whatever signal pin 2 is going to get, it should send it through both wires. And on this side, as we already said, one wire is going to one ear and one wire is already going to the other ear. So I think something as simple as that should do the trick and fix this up for us. So as you see, okay, that's heats up real quick. So this is what I'm going to try to do. As I said, I'm going to double check here. You know, I hadn't done this before, so I know that I need to undo wire 3. Wire 3 is the middle one here, this lower one. So I'm going to come on the back, and here on the lower one, I'm going to try to get back here. I'm going to try to heat up that solder and pull off this wire after the solder heats up. I probably need an extra set of hands here, but we're going to give it a shot here. So heat up that solder just to loosen up this wire. Almost. There we go. Okay, the wire is now free. So as we said, I need to add this wire. Now, there's already solder on wire 2, so I'm going to try to just melt that solder while this wire, oh, actually, you know what? Here's an easier way. I'm going to push the wire into the receptacle for 2. You can see here, so now nothing is connected to wire 3, or to receptacle 3. This is completely open. So now I'm just going to try to dab the soldering iron in there, heat up this solder, and melt in this extra wire to the receptacle that's already there. You can see a little bit of smoke. We're getting there, and now I can see, so it's probably hard to see on camera, I can see that it's in there, but just to be safe, I'm actually going to dab. So this is extra solder. Just to be safe, I'm going to try to add a little bit more solder so that I know it's going to have a full, good connection for both of those wires. Now I believe that that's all I need to do. So we can double check real quick. This bottom middle pin used to have this wire. I've disconnected it and now added it to pin 2. So if I'm thinking that my board is sending me audio signal through pin 2, both wires are now going to receive that signal and take it on. Well, one of those wires was connected to one side of the ears and one of the wires was the other side. So I think that should be all I have to do. So now the only thing left to do, I'm going to get this screwed back up and we're going to plug it in and we're going to test it to see if I can get the signal the way that I think I should. So once again, I'm going to get the camera switched up and I'll be back in just a sec. Hey everybody, we're back and it's time for the moment of truth. All right, so here's the setup I've got right now. I reassembled our unit that we're working on, and right here, just to show you, I've got the XLR cable going into the bottom, and I've got my earbuds plugged in to the other side. The other end of the XLR is going off camera, and it's running to my Helix. Now, I've got it plugged into the left side of the main outputs. That's the XLR output that I'm using here. Now, before you rush down to the comments, yes, this particular piece of gear does run signal through both pins 2 and pins 3. But you might be asking yourself, how are you going to be able to know if your fix worked when you're getting signal through both pins and you said your other gear isn't? Don't forget, we disconnected pin 3. There's nothing on pin 3. So yeah, there's a signal. My Helix is sending a signal through pin 3, but both of our wires are only attached to pin 2. So this is a good test of what we've got here. Now, before I started the camera, I went and I just put on some music to test this. I typically, personally, just a side note, I like to use Pentatonics music. So the group Pentatonics, a cappella, phenomenal group. The reason I like to use their music to test audio things is because their group in particular, but a cappella music in general, is always a wide spectrum sound. So you have the bass, low bass, and then you have the super high trebles. So you get everything in between. It's a really good test if you're trying out new earbuds or just audio stuff like this. So that music is playing, and I have not checked this yet, so we're going to discover together. But I'm going to go ahead and try putting in one ear at a time just to see. I knew I was getting signal out of one ear before, but let's just see if we get both things going on. So coming out, I can hear, okay, there is sound coming out of this, and our volume knob works. Okay, here's the moment of truth. If I pull this out, now go in here, already I'm laughing because I'm happy. I'm hearing it out of this ear too. So once again, yep, volume works. Okay, so I'm getting sound out of both ears. Now the last thing that I'll say is I have a suspicion. I think that by pairing up both wires onto one thing, I think that there could be the chance that that's going to reduce the overall volume. Because think about it, if you're taking one input source but siphoning it off to two different things, there's a chance that it would just make everything softer in both ears. So one of the things that we'll have to experiment as a band is we'll have to go into our mixes. One way to combat that is maybe we just have to mix everything louder overall to compensate for, the cutting of the signal in half. But I am more than happy to do that to have a solution to our problem that doesn't have batteries, that's much, much more reliable than the wireless situation that we were in. So here at the end, I hope you got something out of that video. I don't recommend you try this exact thing, but I do hope you can see that sometimes there might be a creative solution to whatever problem or challenge you're facing. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, play on, my friends, play on.